Are you carrying an unspoken weight? A feeling that parts of your past are living on unresolved, even if you can't pinpoint why? Many of us walk through life with experiences living on in our body. This video reveals how somatic storytelling offers a personal and unique route to unlocking these stories so that you can heal and transform from the inside out. Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm a licensed professional counselor here in Texas. And let me ask you straight away at the top of this video, I value so much your likes, your comments, and if you can click on subscribe, I really appreciate it. And let's get into somatic storytelling. What is that? How does it work? Could it be something that you would benefit from in your own personal journey towards healing? So somatic means body, and somatic storytelling is allowing your body to tell you the story that it's been carrying. Every muscle fiber, every ache, tension, the way that we breathe, even the way our gut works, tells a story about the experiences in our life, the resources that we've had to get through them, cope with them, whether you've had to fight through, whether we've had to run away, whether we've just had to kind of tough it out and stay silent. Your body is telling a story, and there's many deep layers to that. But somatic storytelling is about starting to find ways to listen to what the body might be saying through your breathing patterns, aches, pains, tensions. There may even be feelings of joy and love and happiness that are yet to be fully digested and processed. Listening to your body is really in itself an act of compassion, is an act of self-compassion, and is something that maybe doesn't quite make sense because it doesn't really fit in very well with our traditional ways of coping with problems, even with traditional therapy. So when I think of traditional therapy, we're thinking about going and talking about a problem, naming the problem, maybe giving the problem a label or a diagnosis, and having a path towards healing. So this is where we are now. We're going to do all these kind of steps here, and this is what it looks like when we're healed. Nothing wrong with that at all, but where we can get stuck sometimes is the body is ruling the roost, is driving the car, and the mind is having trouble explaining in words, with logic, with reason, what is actually going on. So we get this sort of, it's almost like the body and the mind are talking two different languages. It's not that one is right and one is wrong, but that they're saying their own thing in their different language, and they don't quite know how to understand each other. So while in therapy we might be, mentally really working through, okay, I'm safe, I can be calm, these are the ways I'm going to be calm, these are my coping strategies, the body might be telling a completely different story. And then we can get kind of frustrated. I find it particularly with anxiety-related issues, with worry-related issues, when we have a logical reason for why we should be feeling okay, and then we don't feel okay, it can feel like a catastrophe. We can start to see anxiety sort of spreading out everywhere. Oh, I should be feeling this way because this makes sense and that makes sense and this other thing makes sense, but I don't feel that way. So this means all kind of bad things for me and my future, and all sort of catastrophic stuff might befall me. So, let me not be mistaken here. There's absolutely a place for talking through things, reasoning through things in traditional talk therapy. But somatic work, and what we're going to talk about today in somatic storytelling, which is something you can do at home. You can obviously get the support of a practitioner, but you can start it in the comfort of your own space right here today. Can be a different kind of language, allowing the body to speak with its own language that may not always make sense logically. So when we're thinking of your body's story, somatic storytelling, let's think of it as sort of an unwritten chapter. unwritten because maybe we haven't had the words for it. We haven't had sort of logical words for what your body is trying to tell you. So as we get into what that story, that unwritten story might sound like, we should probably just think about two basic systems in the body. We should think about your fascia. In our somatic storytelling, we can think of the fascia as this web of connective material that goes through every part of the body. Yes, it's around our muscles, it's also around our bones, but it goes through every single organ, and it is filled with nerve endings. Whenever something happens, good, bad, neutral, whatever, the fascia is responding. And if we think about situations that may have left us with some sort of unwritten, unspoken story, these are situations where maybe we've had to, or we've been able to, just because of our strength and our resilience, to just carry on like normal, but we're actually holding tension somewhere that hasn't really been able to be expressed. I mean, maybe a very benign example might be you're in a work meeting and someone says or does something that's really off, really uncomfortable, but you're being professional. So on the outside, everything looks normal, but on the inside, you might feel this knot in your stomach. You might feel your neck tensing up, your jaw. Things that from the outside someone wouldn't see, but your body is responding. If we don't have a way to loosen up that fascia after the threat or the event or whatever it is has passed, then it can stay kind of stuck. The fascia also tells a really important story because we all really have characteristic ways of responding. You might be more of a freeze type response. When something happens and there feels like a threat, you might kind of be a freezer. So not a whole lot of action, but you may experience a sense of almost like stuckness or detachment in a way. You might be more of a fighter, so you might feel like those muscles are ready to go. Or you might be more of a flight type response. So this might depend on whether or not you feel your hips or your shoulders or some other part kind of responding, getting ready for that threat. Whatever it is, and you don't have to classify yourself firmly into one category or another. Engaging with your somatic storytelling is understanding that as you start to feel your body and find ways to engage with your body, you're going to notice little areas that are saying to you, hey, pay attention here. And we may not know logically what that area is saying to us, and we don't need to find words for it. We don't just struggle to find, hey, when I was this years old or this thing happened or whatever, and then my neck tensed up or my hip tensed up or whatever. We can just acknowledge, okay, there's a something there. My body is feeling something, and just breathe and allow it to move through. The beautiful thing is whether, you're looking for that deep emotional release or whether you're just feeling tight, working with the idea of your fascia in mind is going to be beneficial physically, potentially emotionally, and even if you don't have words for what's going on. The other system that we really want to keep in mind that's deeply intertwined with our fascia is our nervous system. So, our nervous system includes our brain, but also your spinal cord and all the nerves that come away from that spinal cord into all the little fingers, toes, everywhere into your body. And when something happens, well, even in this moment, your nervous system is responding by being a little bit more active or a little bit less active, depending on the demands of the environment and depending on the demands internally as well. The nervous system is always trying to find that perfect level of response. Sometimes, though, what can happen is that it gets habitually activated. So we are kind of stuck on an on position. And all kinds of things are going on in the body then. Not only, tension like we're talking about, and maybe the fascia is responding and along with that, but also our heart rate, our lungs, our breathing, our respiration, and our digestion. All of these things that really have a huge effect on how comfortable we are and really how we sleep, how we recover. All of these things can be sort of habitually activated, and the parts of our nervous system that are about taking us down a notch can be kind of switched off. So when you're working with somatic storytelling, you might also be noticing, okay, I'm moving my body in this way, or I'm getting into a certain stretch or position, and now I'm noticing not just what's happening in my muscles, or maybe some sense of what's happening in my fascia, but how my heart is beating and what my respiration is doing, and how my nervous system might be responding by saying, "Ooh, watch out," and whether or not I can just stay in that and observe rather than respond in my habitual way. So as you can probably hear, a lot of your somatic storytelling, if you want to engage with this practice, is going to be about starting to notice patterns. When am I stuck? When am I breathing as if there's a threat? How am I responding on a day-to-day situation? How am I waking up? How am I feeling at the end of the day? Things like yoga, like breath work, mindfulness, meditation are classic things that are going to help you with your somatic storytelling. And there's no perfect or magic yoga practice or stretching practice or breathwork practice to do. All of them can provide a little bit of insight into where you're at. Certainly when it comes to this idea of stuckness, we would benefit a lot from going from stuckness into something that is more flowy, is more fluid. And that's why oftentimes in like a yoga practice or sometimes with breathwork practice, we are linking a breath, an inhale with a certain kind of move and an exhale with another kind of move. And what's happening with that is as we inhale, we're expanding through our lungs, and we can help the body to do that by stretching outwards, stretching upwards, and it's moving in unison with the breath. As we exhale, we're maybe crunching down, folding over, getting smaller, grounding down. So we have that mirror in your body of expansion and contraction, just like your lungs are doing. What you might notice as you get into this somatic storytelling mindset is, wow, I can easily expand, but I can't so easily contract. So maybe we're not exhaling fully, and that can definitely have an effect on our feelings of anxiety, and maybe that's something to work on. We can just, not make it a logical explanation, but just kind of be kind of curious. My body is holding on. How can I let go? Another thing that can be useful for somatic storytelling is to find a space of stillness and quiet, create a sensation in the body, some kind of challenging sensation even, not painful, stabbing pain, burning pain, but something that gives your body something to work with, a stretch in a way, and then try to just feel the breath and let the body tell the story. So the idea is we're going to shut the mind up. Obviously, it's not going to happen so easily. The brain is always thinking, but our aim is to, okay, mind, you're there doing your thing, but I'm curious about the language that the body is speaking right now. So some examples of that is, to get into perhaps maybe a deep hip stretch. So the example I'm going to show here is a pigeon or a sleeping swan stretch. This is very easily done. I have my yoga mat here, but you could just lay a towel on the ground. You could do it on a carpet or blanket. I would recommend maybe playing a very relaxing song or a timer and sitting in this stretch for maybe 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. You're going to feel intense opening through the hips, and just be curious, what is my body telling me here? Where am I storing this tension? And what is this letting me know about the story that my body has been holding here? If you do one side, make sure you do the other side. Don't just do one leg, do both. Try to give equal to each side. And another stretch could be things where we open up through the heart. So maybe where you're placing the hands behind and you're opening up through the chest. You could do seated, you could do kneeling. Another example might be to take it a little bit further, and you could flow with this one where into your camel, where you inhale, maybe rise up onto the knees, and one arm reach into the air while the other one reaches back behind, either to the low back or to the foot behind you. And as you exhale, you could take yourself down and then inhale the other side and make it into a little flow. Another great example is for a heart opener is to find something, maybe like a yoga block like this, or, roll up a pillow or a couple beach towels or something like that to create a bit of height. Place it behind you so that as you lay down, it's going to be resting between your shoulder blades, and just sort of ease yourself back. And again, just kind of lay in this very still position for maybe 3 minutes, 5 minutes, maybe even longer, and just be curious about what we've been storing in this area, what your body has been holding for you, what the untold story is in this heart region. If the block isn't available or you don't like that, another thing that you could do to open up through your heart is this broken wing, where you lay on your stomach, arm stretches out, and we roll onto the shoulder. And again, you could spend 3 minutes here, something like that, a little bit longer, just letting the heart open. We also have our frog pose, very intense hip opener, where you take the knees out wide. You could find some padding with a towel, mat, blanket, whatever. You could get extra padding under those knees. Knees out as wide as your body will allow. Seeing if we can turn the feet and the ankles out, so we get a really intense feeling through those hips. And you could stay on the hands, or you might be able to come down to the forearms. No rights or wrongs with these, but the idea of all these longer held stretches, and I really do choose ones that open up through the hips and open up through the heart, because typically when we think about overwhelming experiences where our body has just had to respond without us thinking, we are going to be tensing up to protect all that valuable stuff right down the center. So protecting through your heart region, protecting through your groin and your belly region. So people often will say this phrase that trauma is stored in the hips, right? And I know there's some debate about that I've read about online, and I don't think anyone means that it's literally trauma there, but this is kind of what we're talking about, that as we open up through the hips, we may feel not just a rush of intense stretch and sensation, but eventually there may be an emotion. What I would challenge you to do, whatever you choose, whether it's a more flowy practice, moving more, whether it's just the breath, noticing how you breathe, breathing in intentionally, breathing out intentionally, or whether it's getting into a deep stretch and just noticing what story your body is telling you, whatever you choose, just to be curious about the sensation as you open up and as you release. You could notice where the mind takes you. You may even have experiences where memories or situations or certain people come to you. What I would say then is, do not aim to get into your logical mode and start trying to explain it away. Just notice, okay, when I am feeling this intense sensation and I'm trying to be still, certain experiences are more prevalent for me in my consciousness, and just observe it and let it flow through. Oftentimes the difference between the language of the mind and the language of the body is the body kind of just wants that self-compassion. It just really wants you to send some gentle awareness there so that it can just release and stop holding on. Sometimes the logicizing is kind of like a way to keep a grip and hold on. And so let's, whatever you do, just notice when you do want to have that grip, but see what you can do to just let it go. So whatever you choose, it's really important to try to consolidate this into something that can translate into your day-to-day life. So a journal can be very, very useful. And if you're taking it as a somatic storytelling rather than like a traditional journal, let's try to stay away from explaining, oh, my hips were tight because, and rather just describing what we observe, and describing it in a very compassionate and contextualized way. So yes, there may be some kind of like, well, I sat all day and my hips were tight. Okay, notice that, but maybe, reflect more on the emotions that you had that came up, or what got in the way of you just being very still and letting the body start to melt. What other areas of the body were involved? If your hips were trying to open, did you feel your jaw tighten and your head tighten? And what does that remind you of in terms of your responses and your emotions in a more day-to-day level? So there's two things here that really make somatic storytelling powerful in the here and now. And one is recognizing your resilience. So feeling intense emotions, putting yourself in weird positions, uncomfortable positions, and noticing that you can just let that flow through. You can do the opposite of what you would maybe normally do. You'd want to get away from something, run away from something, and you can actually sit in it. You can feel it. Where normally you might try to explain, you can just be curious. So teaching your body that there can be this resilience even in the face of difficult sensation, of confusion. And the second thing is that we see how we can release old patterns. You know, the more that you start to listen to your body, the more you will feel this flow opening up throughout your fascia, through your nervous system, maybe just in your muscles and your ability to move. And releasing old patterns physically can start to translate into releasing old patterns emotionally, psychologically, beliefs about ourselves that we've held for a long time. Maybe we can start to question, well, you know, how much do I need that? Does that need to stay? Or even kind of all or nothing ideas. You know, if I'm in pain, and that's just it. Maybe we can find that we can hold pain, tension, difficulty along with a feeling of calm, love, and compassion at the same time. Whatever you are questioning, I don't want to set out, you know, too firm of guidelines here, because as you get into your body is going to show you patterns, not just physically, but it's going to translate into something psychologically, emotionally. So writing it down and taking those into the here and now, noticing how you can maybe keep yourself calm and release tension as it arises in the moment is something that will come as you rewrite these old patterns. So what do you need to do? This just needs to be something that you find a way to incorporate into your day-to-day. And I know I'm shooting a lot of different ideas at you. You don't need to use all of them. Choose one or two that really appeals to you. If you're stuck for time, it could be something that is only 5 minutes long. I know for some of the stretches I said stay in 3 minutes, but let's just say when you say 2.5 minutes on one side of the leg and 2.5 minutes on the other, it could be 5 minutes of breathing. It could even be as simple as in your chair at the beginning of your workday, at the end of your workday, in the middle of your workday, you are intentionally pulling up with your inhale and exhale, rolling them down. Something that you feel like you can commit to on a regular basis is going to be exactly what you need to make your somatic storytelling start to transform your day-to-day experience and start to release some of those unwritten stories that you may have been holding on to. So there's plenty of resources out there for you, things that are completely free. Obviously, you may be able to find some kind of breathwork workshop or yoga practitioner in your area that you can get hooked up with, but there's plenty of things online, on YouTube, that you can use and start to listen to your body on a regular basis. I'm going to link some down below, and you can pick and choose. I'm also going to link my other channel, my yoga channel, Yoga Garden, so you can find me there for some yoga practices, or even just get your little Google fingers going and Google hip openers, heart openers, deep stretches, breath work, and pick and choose what appeals to you. You could even be working with your somatic storytelling in simple ways. You're taking a walk and you're listening to how your body is experiencing every footstep. You're floating in some water and you're feeling what it's like to let go. It doesn't need to be these kind of traditional yoga things. If something else appeals to you, do so with calm observation of your body and let your body tell the story. So thank you so much for joining me today. I would love to hear from you. Drop your comments down below. Reach out to me if it's something you don't want to comment in the public forum in the comments. My email is down there in the description, and you are welcome to reach out to me one-on-one. And until next time, be well.